Imagine a disease that works like a ghost, just erasing a person from the inside out. It turns memories, personality, everything to dust in just a matter of months. That's the incredible medical mystery we are unraveling today, the harrowing diagnostic journey of Cruetzfeldt-Jakob disease.
So, picture this. A friend, a family member, someone you know who is completely healthy one day, and then they just start to change. Their memory gets fuzzy, their personality shifts, their body starts moving in ways they can't control. And look, this isn't some slow decline over years. No, this is a terrifying freefall that happens over weeks. That's the reality we're diving into.
For the doctors trying to solve this puzzle, the first challenge is just this confusing, messy collection of initial symptoms. They don't seem to fit together. At least, not at first.
Okay, so the first and most alarming sign is something called rapidly progressive dementia. We usually think of dementia as this slow, creeping thing, right? But this is totally different. It is a full-on cognitive collapse, and it happens with absolutely shocking speed. Just how fast it happens is a massive red flag for the medical team.
But it's not just the mind that's under attack. The body starts to betray the patient, too. They get something called myoclonus, these sudden, violent muscle jerks that can be set off by a simple touch or a loud noise. Their moods swing all over the place, and this deep, profound exhaustion just takes over. Even simple things like standing up or walking become a huge challenge, as their sense of balance, a condition called ataxia, just vanishes. It's a truly bewildering storm of symptoms. So, with all these baffling symptoms hitting at once, how in the world do doctors even begin to figure out what's happening? Well, they have to become detectives, following a trail of clues hidden deep inside the body. And for any detective investigating a crime of the mind, the very first place you've got to look for evidence is the crime scene itself, the brain. Using advanced imaging, doctors can get a direct look at the damage as it's happening. And when they look at that MRI, wow, the evidence is just stark. The brain itself is actually shrinking, a process called atrophy. But more than that, they're looking for two very specific telltale signs. One is cortical ribboning. It's this bright signal that looks like, well, a ribbon along the brain's outer cortex. The other is the hockey stick sign, a really specific pattern of brightness deep inside the brain. These aren't just random spots, they are huge clues pointing right toward our culprit. But the next clue isn't found in a picture, it's found in a fluid. The investigation moves to the cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. This stuff literally bathes the brain and spinal cord, and it acts kind of like a liquid diary of everything that's going on in the central nervous system. So the first thing they test for gives them a really important negative result. The fluid is non-inflammatory. That means there are no white blood cells fighting, which helps rule out a typical brain infection. But then you get the positive hits. Super high levels of two proteins, 14-33 and tau. These are basically distress signals, markers that a massive number of brain cells are dying, and dying fast. They don't name the killer, but they sure do confirm the brutality of the crime. But now we get to the smoking gun. It's a newer, incredibly powerful test called RT-QuIC. And how this thing works is just ingenious. Scientists take a little bit of the patient's spinal fluid and mix it with normal, healthy proteins. Now, if the culprit is in there, it acts like a toxic seed, forcing all those healthy proteins to start misfolding into the same bad shape. It sets off a chain reaction, and they can see it happen in real time because it glows with fluorescence. It's an incredibly specific test that can definitively identify the infectious agent. So at this point, you've got the MRI findings, the analysis of the spinal fluid, and now this positive RTQ test. All the evidence, all the clues, they all converge and point to one single terrifying culprit. And that culprit is a prion. Now, a prion is a really weird thing. It's not a virus, it's not a bacterium, it doesn't even have DNA. It is simply a protein that is folded into the wrong shape. But it's infectious. It operates like a zombie, touching normal proteins and forcing them to corrupt themselves into the same misfolded shape, setting off a catastrophic chain reaction that literally eats holes in the brain. And this devastating chain reaction has a name: Cruetzfeldt-Jakob Disease, or CJD, a rare, untreatable, and rapidly fatal disease caused by these rogue prion proteins. But look, making a diagnosis this serious isn't just about confirming what it is. A really crucial part of the process is meticulously ruling out all the other possibilities, all the lookalikes. Let's just look at some of the key differences here. Unlike something like herpes encephalitis, CJD doesn't have a fever, and its onset is a little slower. We're talking weeks, not days. And it's not Lewy body dementia because the main symptoms aren't hallucinations or Parkinsonism. It's also not an autoimmune condition like anti-NMDA encephalitis because it doesn't have those specific antibodies. See? Each of these other conditions is carefully considered and then ruled out, leaving only CJD as the answer. So once the diagnosis is confirmed, the entire focus of the medical team has to shift. The detective work is done, and now everyone has to confront the grim reality of this disease's relentless path. And this is the truly tragic part. There is no cure for CJD. There's no therapy, nothing that can slow or stop the prion's destructive march through the brain. Management becomes entirely about providing comfort, treating the most distressing symptoms, and just offering unwavering support to the patient and their family as they face this devastating road ahead. The prognosis is absolutely stark. From the time symptoms first appear, this disease is almost always fatal in less than 1 year. And in the end, the final 100% definitive confirmation of the disease actually comes after death, during an autopsy of the brain. The finding is just unique and haunting: spongiform degeneration. It means the prions have created so many tiny microscopic holes that the brain tissue, under a microscope, tragically looks like a sponge. And that leaves us with this really profound, really unsettling question. The story of CJD is just a stark reminder of how incredibly fragile our own biology is. It forces us to ask, how is it even possible that a single, rogue protein with no genetic material of its own can systematically and completely dismantle our most complex, our most precious organ, the human mind?